But at least the Romans had gardens. Mr. Dare seemed to believe only in concrete, metal, and gravel. His atrium featured a giant stack of iron and stone that was either a brilliant avant garde sculpture or a pile of leftover building material. We followed Rachel down a wide hall of painted cement, then up a floating stairway to the second level, which I would have called the living quarters, except nothing about the mansion felt very alive. Rachel herself seemed small and out of place here, a warm, colorful aberration padding on her bare feet through the architectural mausoleum. At least her room had floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the neighboring rail yard and river beyond. Sunlight flooded in, illuminating the oak floors and speckled tarps that doubled as throw rugs, several beanbag chairs, some open cans of paints, and massive easels where Rachel had 6 different canvases going at once. Spread across the back part of the floor was another half-finished painting that Rachel seemed to be working on, with drips and splashes a la Jackson Pollock. Shoved in one corner were a refrigerator and a simple futon, as if eating and sleeping were complete afterthoughts for her. Wow! Will moved to the windows to soak up the view and the sunshine. Meg made a beeline for the refrigerator. Nico drifted to the easels. These are amazing. He traced the air, following the swirls of Rachel's paint across the canvas. Thanks, Rachel said absently. Just warm-ups, really. They looked like full aerobic workouts to me. Huge, aggressive brushstrokes, thick wedges of color applied with a mason's trowel, splashes so large she must have swung an entire can of paint to apply them. At first glance, the works appeared to be abstract. Then I stepped back and the shapes resolved into scenes. The maroon square was the way station in Indianapolis. The swirls were the griffins in flight. A second canvas showed flames engulfing a burning maze, and floating in the upper right quadrant, a string of hazy glowing ships, the fleet of Caligula. A third painting, I began to get misty-eyed all over again. It was a funeral pyre, the last rites of Jason Grace. You started having visions again, I said. She looked at me with a kind of resentful yearning, as if she were on a sugar detox and I was waving around a chocolate bar. Only glimpses. Every time you free an oracle, I get a few moments of clarity. Then the fog settles again. She pressed her fingertips against her forehead. It's like Python is inside my brain, toying with me. Sometimes I think, she faltered, as if the idea were too disturbing to say aloud. Just tell me you're going to take him down soon. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. It was one thing for Python to squat in my sacred caverns of Delphi. It was another for him to invade the mind of my chosen Pythria, my priestess of my prophecies. I had accepted Rachel Elizabeth Dare as my most important oracle. I was responsible for her. If I failed to defeat Python, he would continue to grow stronger. He would eventually control the very flow of the future. And since Rachel was inextricably linked to Delphi, no, I couldn't bear the thought of what that meant for her. Wow! Meg surfaced from Rachel's refrigerator like a diver with gold doubloons. In her hand was a Yoo-Hoo chocolate drink. Can I have one? Rachel managed a smile. Help yourself, Meg. And, hey, D'Angelo? She pushed him playfully away from the canvas that he'd been oogling. Don't brush against the art. I don't care about the paintings, but if you get any color on you, you'll ruin your whole black and white aesthetic that you've got going. Nico said. Now, what were we talking about? Rachel mused. Over at the window, Will rapped his knuckles against the glass. Are those cattle? Oh, right. Rachel steered us in that direction. About 100 yards away, between us and the river, a line of 3 cattle cars sat on the railway tracks. Each car was occupied, and evidenced by the bovine snouts that occasionally poked out between the bars.